Oh, we totally lost the sound. You sit here.
Good morning, young friends. I don't think there are many of you this morning, so this is as much for everyone else as it is for you. And first, if there are any young friends, I think I've spotted a few, and you are able, what is one word to describe how you're feeling today? How's your day going in one word?
And how do you feel?
Okay, I heard Than. Anyone else? Don't think. Griffin, I think you are at the cusp of either way. Do you want to answer how you're doing today? You also don't have to. Okay. So, I am going to read a story that I actually found at Wilmington College that is a little book about Quaker silence for children that is fairly old, actually. And Lee Bowman helped me find the last few pages of it several months ago. And so I am going to read this today. Can everyone see my screen? I'm hoping you're seeing my screen. On sitting still. On sitting still, anyone can wriggle and anyone can make a noise. Even the smallest babies do. When you were a few weeks old, you were only quiet when you were asleep. And even you sometimes made queer noises and clenched your tiny fist. All the young creatures like to keep moving, as you remember, when you think about a kitten playing ball with a scrap of paper or chasing its own tail. But little animals soon learn that more important than chasing their tails is the art of sitting perfectly still. They know that often the only way to be safe is to be so quiet no one knows they're there. Have you ever watched a young rabbit on the lawn at dusk? He comes out of the shadows and starts across the grass to nibble a few leaves of lettuce. Leaves in your garden. But he catches a glimpse of you as you come around the corner to put by your bike, and suddenly he sits as still as a statue, not even twitching an ear. As soon as you have vanished towards the garage, he starts slowly hopping again. Bang, the screen door closes after you and he freezes again. Only when his world is quiet again does he finally dare to cross the green grass to the vegetable patch and start his dinner. Maybe you've read the book called Bambi, which tells the story, the life of a wild deer in the forest. When Bambi is little and spotted, a fawn, his mother leaves him alone in the underbrush while she goes off to the pasture, and Bambi lies so still that his spots look just like sunshine filtering through the leaves. The Native Americans learned to walk through the woods when hunting without stepping on twigs that snap or cracking bushes that crackle when they break. The next time you are in the woods, you might try to walk silently, and you will see how hard it is. The Native Americans even learned to paddle their canoes so silently that there was no gurgling or dripping from the paddles to warn game of their approach. Sometimes it seems as if the most wonderful things in the world happen in stillness. Great storms of wind and rain and lightning that destroy houses and forests make tremendous noise, but the most astonishing miracles of creation happen without a sound. Did you ever hear the sun rise in the morning or set at night? Do you hear seeds pushing up through the earth or apples growing round and fat? Do you hear even the faintest rustle when a rosebud opens on a summer morning? When you go to the store and buy a new pair of shoes, you find that your feet are bigger than they were last time. But did you hear them grow? Of course you didn't. But all of the time in the silence you were growing, and then And when you stop and think of it, it's the most wonderful thing. When we go together to a friend's meeting, we must learn to sit still too, to give our souls inside us a chance to grow and to help us find God. Many people used to think that their God spoke to them in claps of thunder and in roars of forest fires. But the early Hebrews learned that God spoke to them in a still, small voice. We, we who are friends, sit quietly in meeting when nothing seems to be happening, so that we will be able to hear that small voice when it speaks to us. We don't always recognize it when it does speak, but sometimes, as we sit quietly watching a patch of sky through the window, hoping that an airplane might go past, or swinging our feet just far enough to miss the bench in front of us, something pops into our hearts or into our feelings. I really wish I could be nicer to Johnny or Sally if I tried. And the next time it is my turn to be captain, or I'll choose her or him or they on my side and see what happens. Just that way miracles of friendship begin to grow. Or, now I know why Mother was cross yesterday. She was very tired, and I had only picked up my pajamas if I only had picked up my pajamas without being reminded. It would have made her so happy. Or, I like the look of the man who sits on the facing bench each week. He has such a gentle, quiet face. I wish I could look something like him when I grow up. Maybe I will find something in meeting that will help me be like him. Even if we only see the branch of a tree through a nearby window, or watch a patch of sunlight on the floor, or hear the locust drone on a warm summer day, we can thank God for the wonderful world He has given us for our home, and make up our minds to thank Him for being more loving every day. So the miracle of love, and God is love, takes root in us. Let's be clear about this, that it is not an easy thing that we are setting ourselves to learn. It would be much easier to whisper and giggle with our neighbors than to keep our mouths and hands and feet quiet for perhaps a whole hour at a time. But it is still a skill that we must learn with practice as we learn to swim or even ride a bike. At first, it may not seem as if you could ever stay up in the water, does it? Or it seems it might be hopeless to balance on a two-wheeler long enough to catch your breath. But after you've practiced and practiced, falling off the bike until every inch of you hurts suddenly doesn't happen, and you can ride, and you keep at it, and you're doing better and better, and then comes the glory of doing something difficult really well. Why did you stick at it so long? Because you wanted to learn it. You wanted more than anything else to know how. Suppose you try to learn and learn to sit still in the same way as you have as a skill to be mastered, just as the little rabbits or the Native Americans have learned. If you keep on trying each time you go to meeting, it will be easier and easier, and something you will say, why meeting doesn't seem so long at all today? And you will have the satisfaction of knowing that you are one member of fellowship of boys and girls and men and women near and far that are growing in the understanding of silence and that are listening in silence for the still small voice of God. One of the best ways to help us guide our thoughts in meeting is to say to ourselves Bible verses that we have learned in our heart by heart. An especially beautiful one that comes in the 91st Psalm, which compares the love of God for us, His children, to care for a mother bird and for her nestlings. The 4th verse reads, He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. There's the last picture of the little bunny. Okay, so if you have some time this week, Thad, you're kind of young, so maybe we'll read this to you one day in the future. But let's all think about, in silence today, how we learned about silence and how we can go forward and become better at the skill of silence. Have a wonderful week, young friends.